Welcome back to Transaction Care. My name is Lillian Hernandez, your resident care coordinator, and this is Transaction Care. This is my very first live Q&A. So, welcome. Transaction Care, my goal is to demystify the business of real estate as told from a real estate transaction coordinator's point of view. That's me. And today we're doing a live Q&A. I'm going to start off with just introducing myself, what I do, what is a transaction coordinator. And for those that do join in or are watching the replay, thank you for joining. I appreciate you and I'm grateful for you spending the time learning with me. So let's get started. Now, what do I do for a living? I am a real estate transaction coordinator. I own and operate my own business here in the Bay Area, as well as in other parts of California. And what is a transaction coordinator? Well, we help facilitate the transaction, a real estate transaction from contract to close. Basically, meaning that as soon as a property goes into contract, whether it's going to be for sale or a buyer is ready to purchase, we help organize and keep everything in order with timelines, and we audit the files, making sure everything is in compliance, assuring that all parties and everything can move smoothly so everyone can get paid, get their keys, all of that. So that's just a kind of general overview of everything, but we'll get into more detail later. But before we continue, please hit that subscribe button. Also, comment where you're from. I would love to know who's here, where you're located, if you are a transaction coordinator. And if you hear airplanes outside, it is Fleet Week here in San Francisco. So don't worry, everything is okay. So let's get into it. So, as I mentioned, I am a real estate transaction coordinator. I'm also in the process of starting my own coaching business. So stay tuned for that. So, how long have I been a transaction coordinator? Well, I started my real estate journey a long time ago in the year 2004. So I got into this industry by accident. I was in college and I was looking for a part time job. One of my really good friends had a job interview at this company and he couldn't make it. So he took it upon himself to fill his spot with me and said, "Hey, I know you're looking for a job. Call this person and do the interview with them." So I was like, that's weird, but okay. So I go do the interview, and it's at this small family owned real estate company in the city. And everything goes well, and they end up giving me the job. So this was technically my first real job. I had known nothing about real estate, I had no interest in real estate. I just needed money to pay for my contacts and all my snacks while I was in school. So I didn't really have much that I needed at the time. So, what turned into a part time college job eventually turned into a full time transaction coordinator business position. And another incident happened at the company where the people that were the transaction coordinators that I was also helping ended up just quitting. So they needed to fill the roles immediately. And at the time, I was in probably my early 20s. I was ambitious. I wasn't really intrigued or connected to my college career at the time. I was a student athlete, so sports were done. And I was like, you know what? I could do it. I was competitive and I was like, I was challenging myself. So I volunteered to be a transaction coordinator, knowing I only had, hi, Diane. Hi, Dante. Thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I'm just kind of giving myself introduction to all of you and kind of filling the time. But I do have some questions and feedback and things that I want to answer that were provided. So, but anyway, I got into transaction coordination by pure accident. I had been assisting two TCs for a little bit. They ended up quitting, and overnight I became the full-time transaction coordinator. Now, fast forward to how I started my own business. Well, I was with the company for several years, and we can get into that in other episodes. But basically, I had reached a point where I was tired of working in an office and wanted to find another outlet for myself, whether it was through real estate or something else. But because I had so much knowledge of real estate, I had pretty much just spent a whole year, maybe even 2 years, just preparing for my next journey, whenever that was going to happen. I had no timeline. I just knew I was outgrowing this office job as a TC. And of course, as life would have it, things were starting to happen in my personal life that were pushing me to go towards this more independent role. But I was so blind to everything, I didn't realize that that was the purpose of all of those happening. And I ended up quitting my job because my mom had gotten sick, my grandma had gotten sick, and at that point, I was like, "I just need to be home to help take care of them, doctor's appointments, things like that." And unfortunately, the owners of the company did not agree. Welcome everyone that's tuning in. I see you guys in the comments. But basically, I had requested to work from home just once a week. I was even willing to negotiate that and just kind of restructure my role in that office. But as you would have it, this was pre-pandemic. This was 2018, 17, 18, around that time frame. And the owners just didn't want someone else working from home. Mind you, they had an employee working out of state from home doing the same exact job as me. So I figured, why wouldn't it be possible? But they flipped the script on me and basically said no to everything. And that's what got the wheels going. And everything I had done up until that point to prepare for this moment, I knew I was ready, but I wanted to do it in a strategic manner because I didn't want to just fly completely off the edge and not have anything kind of lined up for me. I wasn't worried about not having a job because at that point I had changed a lot of my habits. I had started saving, learning how to budget, paying off debts, things like that. So thankfully I had enough reserves, which is very important. If you are starting a business, you want to have some sort of reserves, at least 3 months minimum, just as backing to also just provide you with some of that confidence when times are when the market is slow, just like right now. But having those reserves gave me the confidence to just make any decision I wanted to at that moment. And at that point, I had never saved any money, but the fact that I had spent a whole year, almost 2 years, changing my habits and building my business, I was so grateful that I had made those switches and those changes to feed the next phase of my life. So, what made me start my business essentially was I was I had experience in real estate, and prior to me quitting, I had taken a job interview. It was random. They contacted me. I was not looking for another job. I was good with where I was at, and this was the year prior to me quitting. And the position they were trying to fill, I ended up not fitting into the role, but it was one of those early real estate startups where they started off really small, tiny. I was able to have lunch with the owners and creators at the time, and at the end, it was, and when they called me back and said it wouldn't be a fit, it was one of those, "Oh, well, we will keep you in mind if anything else comes up." So to me, I've said that to people who have done job interviews. People have said it to me. I didn't think anything of it. So the moment, fast forward back to the moment where I had made up my mind that I was ready to quit because my bosses at my previous company rejected my whole proposal to work from home, even just once a week, once a month, due to the fact that they just needed someone to fill the seats for optics. They wanted their office to look full and that things were busy and that they had people in house to help, whereas that just didn't align with me. So once I made up my mind that I'm going to quit, no more than maybe, I think that same week, I had gotten a voicemail from that same company I had interviewed with a few months back, and they said to me, "Hey, Lillian, this is so and so from this company. We have a transaction coordinator position opening up, and I'm curious if you would like to come on board, but unfortunately, you have to work from home." And it's a 1099 position. And to me, I was elated. I was just so excited. I was like, "You are speaking my language. This is everything I wanted." This might be a TMI, but I had done vision boards, written affirmations, things like that. And one of my big things I wanted to accomplish was to be able to work from home and wear anything I want, including not having to wear a bra or to have to dress up. I was just so determined to make that my new lifestyle that I took on this new position and just took the risk into being an independent transaction coordinator. And honestly, it has been the best decision of my life. Of course, there have been ups and downs. Like right now is probably the slowest my business has ever been. But as I mentioned, I'm also pivoting into, as I mentioned earlier, it is Fleet Week here in San Francisco. So the Blue Angels are out. So you may hear airplanes in the background and lots of loud noises. We are not at war here. We are just, it is Fleet Week. So the Blue Angels are flying above my home right now. So I knew, I lost my train of thought, but either way, being a transaction coordinator and starting my own business truly was the best decision of my life. It was the scariest decision I'd ever made in my life, but I'm glad I did it. And even though it was a risk and somewhat of a leap, I still had things in order before I took that position and I was like, April 1st, my birthday month, I'm starting fresh. I don't care what happens. I will figure it out from here on out because I want to work from home. I want to, even then, hi, Vicky. Hi, Joy. From Houston, you know what, Tucson. Let me know where you guys are from. I'd love to, some of you I've actually spoken to on Zoom. Nice to see you again. And, also, I am doing free consulting, coaching, mentoring through the month of October. It was from September to October only for free. Yes, you heard that right, free. There's no catch, there's no gimmick. Ask the people in the chat. I just want to help the people, get to know you guys, and it's also helping me build my confidence as a coach and mentor and seeing, where I could fill the gaps in this industry and how I can help all of you with the wealth of knowledge and years of experience that I have, because I know for all of you that are transaction coordinators in the chat or who will be watching the replay, it's not an easy job. We may be considered just paper pushers, assistants. A lot of our job is very behind the scenes. Of course, my allergies are happening, but excuse me. Of course, loud planes would be flying over during my life. And all of my windows are closed. Everything is like, I tried to soundproof as much as possible. But anyway, but leading up to quitting my job and then eventually just taking the leap and starting fresh, I already knew the role of a transaction coordinator was going to be, it can be overwhelming if you don't have your stuff organized or if you don't know what you're doing. And I want to be able to provide that to people currently, whether you are curious about it or awesome, Vicky, good to hear that. Congratulations. So I want to be able to just help guide people, and eventually you will, please join my newsletter, subscribe to this YouTube channel where I'll be making all these announcements in the upcoming weeks. And, just dropping digital products, offering coaching, mentoring, continuing to do these YouTube lives in any way I could possibly help is my goal and what I want to do in this industry. I want to expose more people to real estate and to provide education and guidance that isn't necessarily provided on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, so I was just giving a little bit of background as to how I got into real estate and then how I eventually transitioned into entrepreneurship with owning my own business as a TC. And as I mentioned, now pivoting into I would consider another arm and stream of income through coaching eventually. So, but for anyone out there that wants to get into TCing or that wants to get into transaction coordination or is in transaction coordination, I think the biggest thing that keeps me going throughout this process, I'm approaching year 5 of being an entrepreneur. April of 2023 will be my 5th year. I'm losing count. 18, 19, 20, 22. Yeah. Anyway, I've been in this for a while. And I just didn't think it was fair to hold on to any of this knowledge for myself. I think we could all use the extra support, because when we do jump into entrepreneurship or new careers or new jobs, everyone's assuming that we know everything about that job, or that the downtime, or the, when it's busy, that we're just able to adapt and know exactly what we're supposed to be doing, when in actuality, especially as a transaction coordinator, when you're brought on, there really isn't a guideline or a guidebook or a training. Like, yeah, there are products out there that can help you through certain aspects of the job, but there are certain scenarios and nuances within this world that don't get talked about, or the information is, you know, gate kept. And I kind of want to break those walls and bridge the gap between, you know, the unknown and the known, and just kind of bridging all of that together, so we can all get through this and understand that it's not as difficult as we may be making it, maybe in our minds. Maybe we're just lacking some education, or maybe we're just maybe we just need to tweak some specific areas in our business that can take us further than we ever imagined, right? So you definitely want to start off, like I said, regardless of what experience level you have, you want to start off with knowing why you want to do it in the first place. And your why, which you can amend and change over time, but in the beginning, that's going to be your foundation in anything that you do. But if your choice right now is transaction coordination, real estate, um, you want to know why you're doing this. And maybe it's, you want, it could be a material why, it could be an emotional why, it could be, I want to start fresh, and this is how I want to feel when I'm doing the work, and just taking it from there. It doesn't have to be this elaborate why. If it is, it is. But if it isn't, if it's just time freedom, location independence, I want to spend more time with this person, or I want to travel more, or I'm curious about real estate and I want to be a realtor, I want to be a transaction coordinator. Whatever your why is, make it very specific to you and hold tight to that, because when the days where you feel like crap, or you feel like I don't want to do this anymore, it's your why, it's the affirmations that you say to yourself, it's the way you speak and think about life and yourself that's going to keep you going forward. So having, your toolkit available to you at all times will definitely help catapult you and move forward when times are rough. And mind you, I've gone through the toughest of times, where I've had all the business in the last 5 years, and then I've had almost none. So I've been able to adapt through both situations. And it was one of the reasons was because of my why. I would look back and say, okay, location independence is a strong value for me, being able to work from anywhere in the world. And I may not be on a yacht, or in, Thailand or in Australia right now, but if I ever wanted to, I technically could. And that's because I've built this lifestyle for me. It goes beyond just your career. It's like everything plays a part in all you do and how you feel in life. And me choosing this lifestyle as a transaction coordinator is was kind of just the starting point for me. And for a while I thought it was the end all be all, but I realized this has become, I never thought I would sit here doing a live like this, talking to people all over the country, which I think is so cool. I'm looking at the chat box right now. Um, and once again, hello to everyone. For Thank you for spending time with me this evening. I honestly was like, if no one shows up, I'm still going to keep talking to this camera as if it's just me at home recording another episode for the show and for the channel. So it's awesome to see more than one person, one person be me in this live. So like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them. But I do have an outline here that I'm kind of following just to keep the conversation going. Let me see if there are any questions right now. Let's see. No questions just yet. Thank you guys for the love. I appreciate it. Like I said, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and I will definitely answer them. But no pressure. If you're just here to watch, I appreciate you either way. Um, Okay, so once you have your why in order, like, okay, why do I want to do this? And, you know, it's okay to try. And if you don't like it, move on to something else. But if you want to keep going, keep going. And I'm here to support. And wherever I can help and assist, I'm glad to do it. Another thing that helped me along my journey was creating SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's like a four quadrant thing, and you just pretty much list out your strengths, like what are you good at, what are your weaknesses, what are the opportunities that can occur from your strengths, but also what are the threats that may occur. I actually just redid one after 5 years of not having done one, and it was something about reading the threats that lit a fire in me to start doing things that I had been slacking on or procrastinating on. And um, it reminded me that, okay, I'm on track, I'm doing good, but don't procrastinate or fall off too much because this may be the result if you don't follow through. And what I mean with following through is because I have found somewhat of a new passion, just being able to help people, being able to talk to you one on one like this, or one on many, um, and answering your questions and helping you. But I'm kind of just listing some things that have helped me along the way. I know when it comes to transaction coordination, which I will get into more specifically in just a little bit, um, you have to be very detail oriented and organized. And if you lack those skills, it's going to be really difficult to survive in this industry, period, in real estate in general. Um, but like I said, we'll get there. um, what else? So, you have your why, you have your SWOT analysis completed. And if you want to learn more about that, just message me directly and I can help. I'll walk you through that. And if you have done one, let me know if it's been a benefit to you or not. But overall, it's just a matter of getting to know yourself so that when you do get into the thick of it, when you throw yourself into these situations, whether you're starting off as a new entrepreneur, a new transaction coordinator, or a realtor, you're mentally prepared. It's like when athletes do conditioning before the season and they do, preseason games and one-on-ones before, just to kind of test the waters and get to know themselves and where they can improve. These are just a few things that I've done that have been beneficial, and just, reading books as well and changing my habits. But um, overall, you definitely just want to do a lot of inner work at first before you jump into anything significant, such as quitting your job, starting a new career, or pivoting into a whole new world, which is kind of what I did and what I'm currently doing. So, all right, so let's get more into the transaction coordinator aspect of the job and what it actually involves and requires of someone in this position. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been working in the real estate industry for almost 18 years exactly, also almost 2 decades, and I've learned so much. And there's still a lot of things that I'm learning on a day to day basis. Um, Continued education is key. They say knowledge is power, but knowledge is also confidence. Knowledge is empowering, all of that. So always be learning. But when it comes to transaction coordination, I've noticed a pattern being able to speak to some of you over Zoom or over the phone, or even in my DMs on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow me on all social media platforms at Transaction Care. I do check my messages, I do reply, and if I'm not able to get to you that day, I will the following day. So, um, like I said, I am available for any questions if you ever have them, and I'm glad to help when I can and where I can. So, what I've noticed about transaction coordination is the message that is being told to those out there that want to get into it is to, you know, learn about it and just do it. It's kind of general and kind of vague. There's really no step-by-step process because one, okay, well, let's just say you're an independent contractor, there isn't really a platform that, okay, being a TC in the United States, every state, every city requires their own disclosures, their own inspections, their own, they all have their own broker specific, city specific, county specific disclosures and contracts. So everything is different. This job is not going to be the same in California as it is in New York. I've only worked I've only ever worked in California. So if I were to go TC for someone in New York, it would be like I was trying to learn a whole different language. I mean, I understand the basics of how to, purchase a home, but I know in New York they use attorneys, but I don't know what the attorney does or if transaction coordinators are even used. So wherever you're located, you want to figure out the basics first. You're going to have to do a lot of this on your own. And there are programs out there. There are checklists available, but you're going to have to you can't just rely on all of those items because like I said, everything is going to be different and they are nuanced, because even if you download one basic checklist, that may not account for if you're working with tenants or if it's a condo, or there are different types of properties as well. So a lot of that stuff doesn't get taught in the courses online. A lot of it is just risk management, what like definitions, things like that, and the general role of what a transaction coordinator is. But if you're ever thrown in a situation where you're about to close and all of a sudden they want to add another buyer to the contract, would you know what to do? Most don't, especially on their first or second transaction. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad at your job. It just means, okay, this is a weakness for me, right? Going back to the SWOT analysis. And you could do a SWOT analysis for any aspect of your life. It could be for TCing, it could be for you as a person, your hobbies, whatever. It's just a better way to get to know yourself. But if your weakness is organization, you may have to find a transaction management platform that you need to build out to help you stay organized with timelines and things like that. And a lot of that stuff doesn't get talked about. And my goal is to just, like I said, to continue to bridge that gap between not just contract and close, but everything you have to do between contract and close, and knowing what our responsibilities are and how often we have to talk to clients and keep them updated. And overall, I think we tend to make things bigger than they actually are in our head. So I'm hoping to bring some care back into the transaction and as well to you guys. So let's see, any questions? Still no questions, all good. But let's see. So the disclosures. Now, for anyone wanting to get started and you don't know where to start, aside from kind of getting the logistical stuff in order, like your insurance, things like that, knowing, do you want to work for someone as a TC, or do you want to run your own business as a TC? Do you want to do this full time? Do you want to do this part time? Ask yourself all these questions. You don't have to do this. Could be a side hustle. This could be something that you do on the side and it generates extra income for you to save up to buy a home, or save up to pay some bills, or to invest in the stock market. Whatever you choose to do with your money is your choice. But I always recommend, when people get started, is to find a way to figure out what area you want to service. Say you want to work in San Francisco, which is where I'm located. Figure out, call your local board of, your local association of realtors. Ask them, hey, I'm interested in being a transaction coordinator. Do you have any information or guidance or courses or requirements that I can, purchase or maybe volunteer and help? Just any way you could learn, just kind of tap into all those resources, whether it's going to open houses, requesting a copy of a disclosure packet if it's available to you at the time, just so you can see what disclosures look like and how they get structured and organized and who signs what. Because a lot of the forms, hi Destiny. Okay, I'll answer your question in just a second. So a lot of forms are different, and some require both buyer and seller, some only require the buyer. It just depends. So let's see. So, how important would you say being licensed is, and is it required in some states? So, right now, um, it is you don't have to be licensed to be a transaction coordinator. You don't even need a college degree or any type of certificate. The only place I only one of my brokerages requires that I be licensed and have in California there is called a certified transaction coordinator certificate. It's optional for most brokerages, but one of the brokerages I'm contracted with, they require that I have my license and be certified. Otherwise, I can't work with them, even though I'm not technically an employee. I am just contracted. They're the only ones that I've ever worked with that require it. But it is optional. And but if you are planning to run your own business, it's one, it's good for educational purposes and knowledge and understanding all of the kind of the risks that can go into being a realtor and understanding terminology, things like that. And it's a plus when you're marketing yourself as well, like, oh, I'm a licensed realtor, um, or I'm a licensed agent if you're not practicing, or paying dues to a specific brokerage. But overall, it is optional. I don't know if over time it will become like a requirement. But if you are running your own business, it is a tax write-off, but I'm also not an accountant, so talk to, an accountant regarding that matter, but it wouldn't hurt, but if you're not comfortable with taking the test and that may be intimidating to you, or you don't feel like you need to get a license, but you wanna be educated, you can always just buy the courses and learn that way, but I feel like if you're gonna learn that much, you might as well go take the test as well. Um, and just an FYI, when it comes to taking the real estate exam, it is kinda tough. I failed it 3 times. I'm just being transparent. I'm gonna do a whole episode on this, but since we're here, I'll kinda go over it a little bit, but when I first the first attempt, I I was so young, I didn't know what I was doing, and I kinda just gave up midway, so I consider that, like, a failed attempt, and then the second time, I still wasn't fully confident in what I was doing when it came to the testing, and I was a little cocky also. I was, like, still, like, I think I was in my mid or late 20s at the time, and, I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go take the test to see what it's like, I don't care if I fail." I cared, and I spent money, and I failed it the second time, but it was, like, so close. I was like, "Okay, well, if I was, like, off by a few," because I think you need a 70 or 75% to pass. Forgive me, I have to double check that stat later, but I had missed it by, like, a few points, percentage points, and it is tough. It's super tough. So the third time, so like I said, the second attempt was me just, like, kind of protecting my ego with, like, well, if I fail, I fail. If I do, it's a bonus, right? But deep down, I was like, I really want to pass, but I know I didn't give it a true effort. So the third time I was like, "No, there's no way I'm doing this a fourth time at all. I refuse, if that's the case, I'm just gonna give up on this whole real estate life and start a whole new career. I can't sing, but maybe I'll just go be a singer." So the third attempt, it was, around this time, but I think it was, like, more towards the holidays where it was a slower time for me business-wise. I was still working in my office, and I just locked myself. I went to my parents' house where I knew it would be quiet, and it was away from all my distractions here in the city, and every chance I got, I was studying, I was doing practice tests, I was reading all the even if it was repetitive, I was basically, like, reading the book front to back. There were some areas where it just didn't make sense to me, and I was just, like, praying I wouldn't get those on the test because every test is different. But, um but I did end up passing my real estate exam the 3rd time, and I just recently renewed it in, 2021. So, thankfully, I was able to renew it from home. I didn't have to go to a facility or, do anything like that, but I still had to do the courses to renew it and wait the time period, have the space and the hours in between taking every quiz and all that. So, it's kind of a similar process, but I was able to do it from home once I renewed. So, getting your license, if you're just starting out, maybe just test the waters before you take a deep dive, but if you're comfortable and you feel like you're ready to take that leap, go for it. It won't hurt. And you may discover maybe you would prefer being a realtor over a TC. But either way, it looks good on your, I guess for lack of better terms, resume, even though you don't technically need a resume. A lot of my business nowadays has been through referrals. But let's see. Oh, in Arizona, you must be licensed and also only work within the brokerage where your license is hung. Yeah, yeah, Diane. Yeah, that is tough. I wasn't aware of that in Arizona. Thank you for sharing that because that's also why I have this platform is because I don't know everything about every state. I'm in a place where I want to learn more about other states. I'm considering getting my license also up north in Oregon because I have a lot of family out there. And I don't necessarily know if I would use it to practice or to TC, but I'm definitely open to getting my license in other states. And it's good to know that a place like Arizona does have those limits. So, like I said, if you're just starting out, learn about the state and the city that you're located in and what they require, because maybe that's not fit, in alignment with what you're trying to do or what your goals are or what your targets are. And you can be a transaction coordinator in multiple cities, but like I said, you do have to do the footwork on your own and figure out requirements, limitations, as Diane mentioned here, costs, taxes, things like that. That's also just another part of being an entrepreneur or just being self-employed is you are responsible for everything. You are HR, you are management, you are the janitors, you are everything. You are the TC, you are the face of the brand, and you are the voice of the brand. And there's just a lot of initiative that you have to take to figuring things out. No one's really going to tell you these things. But let me see. And let's see. I'm trying to see if there are any other questions. Um, yeah. Going back to your comment, Destiny, about um, it is pretty much just it just depends on one, the state you live in or working in, and the brokerage. You just have to consult with the brokerage and see what they require of their TCs and if they exclusively only want you to work there. Um, there's a lot of nuances that, like I said, don't really get discussed regularly. What else? Let's see. So when it comes to having, all of your checklists and things like that and your workflows as a transaction coordinator, most brokerages, especially the bigger ones, will have in-house checklist templates that they should be providing to you, or maybe they already have those templates built into systems like a Skyslope. I think Dotloop is another one. I've never used Dotloop, but I keep seeing it on like Facebook groups and people talking about it. But I imagine it's similar to Skyslope. Comment below if they are similar, if you have used it. But in this last year, I've recently uh, started using a actual transaction coordinator management platform, which is different from just a transaction management platform in a sense that it's catered more towards TCs, meaning that it comes integrated with like agendas. And of course, I had to build everything out and go in and type out my templates and do all of that. But it has been a time saver and life changing, to say the least. And I've only been using it for a little over a year now, and I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. And I was doing everything, I guess one would say manually, or almost like prehistorically. I was using like a Word document that I would have to edit and change every single time. It was just a lot of extra work I didn't need to do. And these platforms are catered to TCs. I have no affiliation with any of them, but I'll just name a couple. I use TC Docs. I think there's TC Workflow, Open to Close. Feel free to drop some in the comments if you use one of those or other platforms. Um, because they're great. I know someone actually working on building one right now. I don't know if you're in the live, but I'm definitely gonna, ask her some questions on what she's offering and just be able to share it with you all and helping all of us just be more efficient and have more time to do other things other than just being at our laptops, going through checklists all day. Um, but let's see. Yeah, so one way to get checklists is through your brokerage, because every brokerage, much like getting your license, is going to be different from the next. Even if they're right next to each other or working in the same city, they may have different requirements from one versus the other. So you just have to do your own footwork and take initiative and figure out what's what. But overall, the basics of most A-frame, yeah, that is another one. I heard a lot of good things about A-frame as well. But um yeah, so do your research, and I definitely think that it helps. But most brokerages should provide you with their own flow of how they want things done. But when it comes to knowing when and how often you have to touch your file or contact or update people, that's purely up to you. The brokerages at the end of the transaction just want a complete file. How you get there, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, um, it doesn't really matter how you get there. Of course, you don't want to be a jerk along the way and, do things wrong, but um, or do things at the very last minute. Like, that's the worst thing you could possibly do, is start auditing a transaction the day before, because if there are whole forms missing, that just creates more liability. So you want to start, the first, I would say, 24 hours, do your timelines and just make sure everyone is aware of who you are and what you'll be doing. And then, you spread out the process, whether it's a 30-day close or a 5-day close. I've had 3-day closes before. And you just, work around that time frame. So you can have your default everything for 30 days, but you just edit as needed and, rearrange timelines and things like that, based on the close of escrow date or when contingencies are removed and things like that. So let's see, marketing ideas. I'm struggling with this. The agents in Arizona are cheap. Tell me how you really feel, Diane. I love it. I love it. So marketing, this is something I constantly battle with as well, because there are so many ways to market ourselves. And I found that one way is you're just going to have to put in the time, the effort, and the money. And when I say money, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars right away. You can just, sometimes I'll do like a $10 ad on Instagram or Facebook or Google, and just to test the waters and see if it does anything. You could even spread, you can have like a $10 budget for every month and do a Google ad and just target um, who you want it to see and like what specific cities or counties. And you can add, you can optimize the searches by using keywords such as, real estate, realtor, transaction coordinator. And I've learned all of that just through trial and error. YouTube University is going to be your best friend, especially when you're just starting out in any business. I've learned so much just by simple Google searches, and that's also what inspired me to do this, to create a channel like this one, Transaction Care, is because I wanted to, like I mentioned, just fill those gaps and just talk about my experience and just hopefully help someone else along the way. But okay, here are a few ways you can market yourself for free, right? So social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest. All of these platforms are free. And if you're the type of person that doesn't like to do face-to-face stuff like this, maybe you're good with words. You can just create infographics. I use and I pay for the professional version of Canva. Um, those are great. You can also do, you could do voiceovers. Like, you could just be going for a walk and just record your feet and just or record, I don't know, you writing, and it's just your hands, and I'm just throwing out different ways to be creative with social media. But social media is obviously like a free one to do, but if you are against social media, I don't think everyone needs to use social media to market themselves. You could do it. I just ordered some business cards for the first time in uh 5 years of doing business for myself. I've never had a business card, but I'm challenging myself these days. Like, even going here on live has been a challenge for me in terms of testing my shyness, my introvertedness, and but I have a mix of both, introvert, extrovert, but I've never done a live. So um you could start with your family and friends, marketing with them. You never know who they know as realtors, or some people I've spoken to got their first deal and their first breaks through their siblings. Um, so let's see, so there's social media. Um, and what I got the business cards for was, and I just ordered 50, just started small. I actually had ordered them with a QR code, and the QR code came back wrong. I tested it so many times, and the link goes to canva.com instead of transactioncare.com. So had to go through customer service. It delayed the whole process. But either way, I'm challenging myself to just go network more and just to have them available to pass out, because it also advertises my social media. I don't think I have them in front of me, but I was going to show you guys an example. But either way, go to open houses, pop up to office real, now that offices and more businesses are open again. um, you have to put yourself out there. It's unfortunate that, there still is a sales aspect behind being a TC, and that's just the reality of that's just life. And I hate saying that because some things are just uncomfortable, and you just have to put yourself out there to market your business, because it is a dog eat dog world, and people are out here to just take, and you kind of have to be, your own advocate, your own warrior, and just kind of suck it up and go do it. But like I said, you could buy ads on social media. If you just have like a simple logo, just pop that with a good caption, buy an ad space online. You don't even have to have a big budget for that, but if you do, those are also tax write-offs if you're running your own business. Social media. Also, you could buy social media ads, so you don't have to be on social media every day. You could just have the ad running while you're out working or at open houses. Open houses. You know, Cold calling. Um, what else? Email marketing. Some offices have emails to people on the website. You may have to, copy paste one by one, but those are like those little nuance things that people don't talk about, and how to get business. Like, you just have to do the dirty work, and it doesn't end. And have a plan on what scaling your business and what growing your business looks like. Because when I first started as an independent contractor, my first 2 years, like I mentioned, were probably the best. I made more money independently than I did ever in my life working in an office, like almost overnight. But I burnt myself out, and I didn't have systems in place. I didn't have the mindset of growth. I just had the mindset of survival, right? Because I was at home taking care of my grandma. Thankfully, my mom got better, so I, was just focused on my grandma and my new business. But doing both and not having systems in place, or not having the goal of, let me go hire someone, or this is my limit, I'm good with this, I'm going to stop, I'm good, meaning X amount of closings every month, or X amount of money in my bank account. Have like trigger points, like, all right, well, when I have this much in my bank account, this is when I'm going to hire. you know because that's another way to market your business, is to bring people on, and then having them share and promote. And um but it just doesn't end. And even at the time when I had all of the business coming to me through referrals, I had to put a stop to it because it was just, it's going to sound weird, but it was too much because I wasn't prepared. I didn't have anything in place to keep me going. So I just stopped, had a year where I kind of just was doing enough. And it was last year um, where I kind of picked things back up and was like, all right, where do I fit into this? And how am I going to market myself? And how am I going to, how am I going to basically sell my business or, advertise my business? And sometimes you just have to slide in it goes down in the DMs. Sometimes you just got to slide in people's DMs and just put yourself out there, shoot your shot, in the most ethical way possible, and professional way, without and just start those conversations. Comment on people's posts. Maybe don't start off with like, "Hi, my name is da da da. I'm a transaction coordinator." Maybe just start off with, "Hey, I saw your listing. I'm gonna stop by on Sunday. Thank you for sharing." Right, and then it kind of adds like a little seed, and then come Sunday, you go to the open house and you say, "Hey, agent, I'm so and so. I saw your listing on Facebook. Looks amazing. I'm also a transaction coordinator. If you ever need help, here's my business card," and then walk away, right? It doesn't necessarily mean like you're pitching them because you want to let them decide. You don't want to be so forceful. So, email marketing is good. That's a good way, as long as you're doing something for your business. But if you notice like nothing is happening for a long period of time, say, I don't know, a month or whatever your time frame is, maybe a week, then you have to pivot. You have to find other ways to do it. And I struggle with cold calling. I do not like it. A part of me, I also work with a coach. I think coaching is so beneficial. I've seen the benefits of it for myself. But when it comes to cold calling, I still struggle with it. There's something about the point of, knowing who I'm going to call and making the call and being on the phone. Like that space to me in between is just like there's so much anxiety. There's so many like things in my head that I keep telling myself, or I don't want to do this, or I'd rather go put more energy into creating a YouTube channel, or let me go live, or things like that, or let me pre-record a video and then put some money into making it an ad that goes on all the platforms, right? But I know cold calling can be beneficial, but everyone markets their business differently. I think in the beginning, you just want to try everything and see what works best. Um, Also tapping in with like escrow officers, title officers, after you've closed an escrow, or if you've ever worked with them, just like make sure you're at the, top of mind of all of them, constantly check in with them, maybe create some sort of, um, like, you could do like an email marketing campaign, like maybe once a month or once a quarter, where I would rather have a root canal than cold call. I feel that. I've had a root canal. I'm actually going through some dental work currently. I'm surprised I'm even on this live, but I've had a root canal, and yeah, I agree. But it is something, it's a part of business. If that is your goal, to scale to you know growth, and your end goal should be in alignment with what you need in your lifestyle. It doesn't have to match what I'm doing or what the next TC is doing. And some people like managing employees. Some people want to have staff. Some people want to run this massive company. I don't like. I like spending time with my family. I like traveling. I love traveling. Not like, I love traveling. And what my financial goals are big, but they're not to the point of, you know, burnout anymore. I've seen that side. I've seen what it's like to have all of the business and all of, all of that. I'm grateful for those times 'cause it taught me so much, but I just realized, like, is that really the lifestyle I was striving for? You know what I mean? So you figure out your marketing campaign and your marketing plan, and what you want to accomplish from that. because you could be marketing until your face turns blue and be just going in circles all day, like have a goal in mind. Like, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z with the goal of hiring, and then who do you want to market to, with the goal in mind of hiring um, two top producing agents in Arizona or California or wherever you're working at, right? New York, whatever the case, Florida. Um, but just always have some sort of target in mind, you know what I mean? To kind of give you that sense of purpose. Like, all right, I'm not just doing this for nothing. I mean, obviously, the bigger picture is like we're all doing this for more income, revenue, profit, right? Um, but even that, doing it for money gets played out. I'll tell you that much. It's not everything it's made up to be. But let me see. Let me see. Anything else? Please drop those questions for those that are still here. Thank you so much. Let's see. I'm still laughing here. I'd rather have a root canal than cold call. You can also, if it's in the budget, you can outsource. And if, build that trust with someone to do the cold calling for you, do the email marketing for you. In the beginning, maybe your budget doesn't call for it yet, but, consider that, but I always tell people to exhaust every option possible when it comes to trying new things, try everything at least once, like I said, as long as it's legal, ethical, um, um, respectful, right? So along those lines, and um, but the hardest thing about being an independent TC is truly just marketing yourself and getting yourself out there. But the more reps you get in, and the better, the more quality work you do, and you have some of those customer service traits behind the scenes while you're working, you may start to see that your work just speaks for itself. And it doesn't mean the marketing stops. It just means maybe you don't have to you could take away cold calling, because your referrals, your work is speaking for yourself, and it's generating business through referrals. So keep that in mind, but also just don't give up on putting yourself out there physically, going to open houses, or, maybe volunteering to do open houses so you can get to know other agents, or leaving your card or some sort of marketing materials at open houses. You don't even have to speak to anyone. You just go and leave it on the kitchen counter. So those are just a few ways you could market yourself that I have done and tried. And if there are other ways that people are marketing themselves, feel free to drop them in the chat, or comment on this video, or DM me. I'm open to doing it all. But even this is a form of marketing. I could take clips from this video, chop it up, and repurpose it later, and use it as like a commercial. So it all just depends on what your goals are and what you're comfortable with and okay with doing repetitively, because it is like going to be a part of your work routine and your rituals of building your business. And yeah, like I said, it's can't stop, won't stop. So, one thing I do want to emphasize as transaction coordinators is just knowing your role, meaning sometimes, okay, so most of the times, realtors, when they are onboarded at a new office, and this is just what I've learned from working at an office in my previous at my previous employers, was when they would onboard, or I would learn from other companies, is they would tell the realtors like, oh, your transaction coordinator does everything. And I would have to rein them in and say, no, I don't do everything. I'm not your assistant. I'm your transaction coordinator, and this is what I do. And I talk a lot about boundaries on this channel and on this show. Um, and I really emphasize that, because in the beginning, when you're first working with a realtor, you almost have to like mold them. Not that you're, I don't know, but you just kind of have to state your boundaries early and often, because in their mind, they're looking at us like as an outsource, like, oh, I can outsource all this administrative stuff. I don't even have to do it. So some may think that you have to schedule their inspections, that you have to do their contracts. And yes, if that's what you've agreed to do, right? But if that's something that is not a part of you know, your workflow, make sure you tell them early, because you don't want to, move forward with this work relationship, or this, with this client, and then they're disappointed that you don't do certain things. It's like communication is super key. And also, I've also seen it in the Facebook groups, excuse me. Some escrow companies are expecting transaction coordinators to do certain tasks that are escrow only related. So knowing your role is knowing and being able to stand up for yourself, and just say, in the right manner, and just say, this ain't my job. I'm not the escrow officer. There's a lot of liability when you do other people's jobs. And that's why it's important to have that knowledge, and to have, a support system that can kind of guide you, and tell you, like, no, you don't have to do that part. You're not escrow, you're not the lender, you're not the mortgage broker. You're not the home inspector. You can't go in and edit the inspection because you don't like what it says. Like, no, no, never edit or alter any forms. I don't care if it's a simple, "Oh, I could just, edit it in Adobe." No, like, that's not our role. If it's wrong and you've let everyone know, like, "Hey, I did this, this caught my attention," that's all we can do, right? It's not our responsibility to tell people how to fill things out, where, if a seller doesn't wanna fill out a disclosure, that's on them. That's on them to handle that, to face a possible lawsuit throughout or at the end of that transaction. As long as we do our due diligence and requests and have everything in writing, um, and do, fulfill our responsibilities and our due diligence, and all that throughout the transaction, then we're good to go. And if you're dealing with unresponsive agents, or clients, always just see your realtor, so they're aware of what's going on. And then if you have to, get management involved, whether it's the office manager, um, your broker, whoever is in charge, because it's the broker that's going to get in trouble. It's the seller that's going to have to pay up. It's the buyer that's going to, lose their deposit. So knowing what, your responsibilities are important, and then having the, right communication skills and boundaries in place to make sure that those things aren't just dumped on you because you're a TC, unless you signed up and are getting paid to do those extra things, then you shouldn't go near them. Let's see. But I think that's pretty much a majority of what I have. Just getting things in order, and, having knowing your numbers as well. Having a good accountant on your team is important. I'm in the process of working with a new accountant for this upcoming year. Um, I've had to go through a couple, and I've worked with some that are good, others that I've never even met or spoken to. They didn't want to talk to me for some reason, unless they charged me $300 an hour. That is not normal. If an accountant firm charges you $300 or more, or anything, just to talk to them and ask them basic questions, that's their business model, but that's not regular with most. Uh, and just, yeah, knowing your numbers, checking in with yourself weekly. I definitely will. I definitely will. Um, but yeah, if you guys have any other transaction coordinator or real estate or business related questions, I am an open book. Like I said, only for the next like couple of weeks, I have my calendars open to do some consulting or help you with your business in any way, shape, or form. If you do want to support, and leave a financial, quote unquote, buy me a coffee. I do have a buy me a coffee account. It's kind of like a tipping service for content creators. You can leave a tip that way, but it's not required. It's just any way I could possibly have, you know, for people to access me. I'm gonna sign up for it and just try it out. But either way, just I think it all comes down to just why you want to do this, making sure that your why is still current and it's in alignment with you. How do you want to feel while you're doing a specific job or career or business, and just getting in alignment with the right people, whether it's the realtors you work with, um, what's the saying? Fire fast, hire slow. You know what I mean? That really goes a long way. And that's something you have to get comfortable with as well, is having those difficult conversations when you start bringing in like a VA or um, employees, staff. You know what I mean? Like you have to know a lot of those, you know, communication skills. You have to have those communication skills. And it's tough. It can be tough, but it's possible. It's definitely possible. And just be patient, be disciplined and consistent. I know those are kind of like those cliche, everyone says that, but it is true. You know what I mean? I've just finished reading. I was never really much of a reader because I just would get bored, and I just realized I was reading all the wrong materials. I wasn't reading what I needed to read or what was, going to help um, move me forward in life. And if you're not a reader, you know, there are like Audible platforms like that you could listen to books. You can go on YouTube and search for books. You didn't hear that from me, but there's a lot of ways to get stuff for free. But I suggest, just having the books. One of the books I just finished reading, I'll actually show you guys, is one, Atomic Habits is a great book for anyone that may feel like life is kind of out of order, or how to be, ways to be consistent. I read that book. I feel like it's going to be a book I reread every single year. But I just finished reading and as you see, notes upon notes, the 12-week year. And any book that is kind of built like a workbook where, okay, do these steps. I used to just read them and then never do the steps or take the action plan. And I wondered why I was like so behind in life and my business. But with this book, it says get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. And highly suggested. I read it in less than a month, and I just took my time with each chapter and I applied it. I'm currently applying it. I'm just trying out this whole 12-week method, and you know, um, breaking down my process, because there are, like I mentioned, I'm pivoting into coaching as well, which I've been doing with some of you. Grateful for you all as well. And there are other things coming as well. Stay tuned, join my newsletter. Um, join the mailing list. All the stuff, all of my information is in the description below. But you can go to transactioncare.com. It's all there as well. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're watching the replay, if you're here still, hit that subscribe button. If you are already subscribed, I truly, truly, truly appreciate you. You guys don't even know how much I appreciated it. I was never going to do this in the first place. I was going to walk away from all real estate related things just 2 years ago, and I'm glad I stuck with it. As I mentioned, also at Transaction Care on all social media platforms. My name is Lillian Hernandez. So if you ever want to reach out, Lily for short, I don't mind either. Lily like the flower. And let me see, I just want to go over my notes before I check out. But no, that's it. Thank you guys so much. Let me just double check there aren't any other questions. If you're still here, I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. This was amazing for my first live. I didn't think I'd be talking for almost an hour and 10 minutes. So this was pretty cool. If you want me to do more, I would definitely do this more. I had a lot of fun, and thank you guys all for your support. A lot more to come. Stay tuned. If you made it this far in the live, I'm working on a podcast. You guys are getting behind the scenes and what's actually going on. Like I said, definitely join the newsletter. I want to be able to communicate, because that's who's going to get all of this stuff first, are people on my mailing list. And coaching services, consulting, mentoring, all of that coming very soon. Because I am a one-person show, it is taking some time, but it is all in the works. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it's not happening. So yeah. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, message me, email me. My email is tc@transactioncare.com. And stay tuned. That's all I'll have to say on that. And one thought I will leave you with that hit me today was when people win the lottery, they're always asked how they're going to spend it. They're never asked how they're going to make it last. So, with all of that, I truly appreciate all of you for tuning in, for watching, and remember, your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. My name is Lillian Hernandez, and this has been the very first Transaction Care live Q&A. Talk to you soon. Take care.